Hello, and welcome to the South Carolina Herbaria Data Standards presentation. Today, we will talk about data standards and how to enter data for the fields that are applicable to all herbaria on Symbiota's CERNAC portal. These standards were created by South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, Natural Heritage Trust, Botany and Plant Conservation Program in collaboration with the AC Moore Herbarium at the University of South Carolina, along with input from numerous South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia curator and staff. Before we start, let me introduce the SCDNR NHT Botany and Plant Conservation Program. Keith Bradley is the state botanist and our team lead. Samantha Tussle is our upstate botanist. Eric Ungberg is our low country botanist, and I, Chilisako, am the team data manager. Our group is tasked with tracking and conserving South Carolina's rare and of conservation interest plant species. We do this in 3 steps: assess, track, and conserve. We assess all of South Carolina's native flora and give them conservation rankings from S1 to S5, where S5 is the most common, SX extirpated, or SH historical, following nature serve criteria. We track all S1, S2, and S3 species in the state and other species of conservation interest. We do this by collecting and curating data from a variety of sources, including fieldwork, herbarium specimens, iNaturalist records, published materials, legacy Natural Heritage Trust data, and data provided to us by our conservation partners. We then use our tracked species data to guide conservation and management of heritage preserves and to purchase more heritage preserve land.
Hi, I'm Herrick Brown, curator of the AC Moore Herbarium at the University of South Carolina, which is the largest collection of carefully prepared and curated dried scientific plant specimens in the state. At just over 130,000 specimens, our collection is focused primarily on vascular plant species, but also includes specimens of bryophytes, lichens, and algae.
I'm Avery Browning, and I'm the volunteer manager and assistant collections manager for the AC Moore Herbarium. At USCH, we also work closely with SCDNR, and we have a wonderful team of close to 20 individuals that are staff, research affiliates, and volunteers of all ages that work in and out of the herbarium. The specimen label provides us with critical information about the collection. This includes the who, what, when, and where. Some labels have a set structure and are typed up. Other labels, particularly those from older collections, may be handwritten. Some labels will have a mix of typed and handwritten. Almost all labels will have a collector name, as well as the scientific name of the plant, the date of the collection, and the collection site. Most will also include a collector number.
As you can see, herbarium specimen labels are varying, both in format and content. Developing herbarium specimen metadata in a standard way is a priority for both our groups. We wanted to make it standard for at least the state of South Carolina because that is where we are based and processing data. However, we hope that these standards can be useful for all herbarium specimens. In the case that we could not agree with all the herbaria for specific fields, we wanted to make sure that we understood how and why they process certain fields differently. This information is used in SCDNR's data cleaning code. Finally, these data standards, once written down, can be used to train data processors more efficiently. Both SCDNR and USCH have staff and volunteers processing herbarium specimen data. How did we create these data standards? The first step was identifying the fields that we needed to tackle. We chose to look at the fields that have ambiguous data standards, are public-facing, and are not institution-specific. Next, To prioritize, we chose fields that appear frequently and are important for identifying occurrences. The end goal is to make sure that all fields have data standards, but we needed to start somewhere. We then looked at how SCDNR and USCH processes data and used that to internally create data standards. We wanted to have a jumping off point for suggestions at the meeting with the SC and neighboring herbaria. After we heard everyone's point of view and thoughts, we adjusted the data standards accordingly. We discussed a lot of fields, but we have limited time in this presentation. For those of you who are not familiar with CERNEC, there's an option to enter what is called skeletal data. This is a quick entry form with a limited number of fields. These are our field priorities and what we will discuss in this presentation. If the data processor is doing skeletal data, we suggest prioritizing catalog number, additional identifier value, this is USCH's stamped accession number, collector name and number, collection date, latest determination, country, state, and county. This prioritized skeletal data will allow SCDNR and other groups using herbarium data from CERNEC and data aggregators such as GBIF to better understand the number of records versus the number of unique occurrences.
Catalog numbers and additional identifier values are unique to the herbarium specimen itself. This data is important for herbarium administration and identifying the specimen individually. The assignment method and format is up to the institution.
These are our field priority for SCDNR because as occurrences from CERNEC are being processed, the catalog numbers are saved. We then use this when searching CERNEC for new occurrences.
The collector name / recorded by field indicates who the primary collector is for that specimen. At USCH, we choose to use the verbatim name included on the label to reduce data entry errors, but we enter it in a specific format. That is, capitalized last name, comma, capitalized first name, and then the middle initial, and if applicable, the suffix. If there is no collector name, we enter the capitalized word unknown. If names have been abbreviated to the point of ambiguity, admin and staff may edit the name to a standardized version and append the verbatim name to the note / occurrence remarks field, which is another public-facing field.
SCDNR has both a verbatim name and standard name field. We define the standard name as the name fully unabbreviated to the point of disambiguation from other collectors. We plan to use the verbatim name and a curated list of collector name aliases to batch edit verbatim names from CERNEC for our data. We may also use geographical location and dates to narrow certain collectors down. It appears that long-term, CERNEC will have a collector table with aliases. It is our goal to share our findings with CERNEC.
The collector number is the unique identifier of the specimen collection, as assigned by the primary collector. These are entered verbatim apart from commas which break the search tool. Leading zeros are also important to enter, and no collection number is entered as S.N. standing for sans numero in Latin and meaning without a number.
SCDNR uses the collector number field to recognize unique occurrences. We follow the same standards at USCH for entering collector number into our database. We would prefer that collectors abstain from using common data delimiters in their collector numbers going forward.
The collection date is simply the date that the specimen was collected. Two fields are available for this information, one which is formatted and one that is entered verbatim from the label. Additionally, the formatted date is entered as year, month, day. USCH also uses zeros as placeholders for missing information, and records with a complete lack of a date are entered with only zeros.
Most CERNEC data that SCDNR uses is processed from data downloaded from the portal. The output file parses the date if it is entered in a known date format. If forward slashes are used, it assumes that month comes first. We almost exclusively process South Carolina data, so this is not usually a problem for our team. However, we do double check when processing data.
The data is input into our database in parsed form and then recombined to a NatureServe requested date form.
The latest determination is the most recent scientific name of the specimen. These can change over time and are saved in a separate table. Data processors can also add in the latest determination on the primary tab or in skeletal data entry. Specimens are physically filed according to the latest determination.
SCDNR pulls the determination from CERNIC using the taxon ID. We store the taxon as it is on CERNIC as the verbatim scientific name, but use Weekly's accepted name in our database. The latest determination is crucial for tracking species since botanists are hard at work annotating.
Country, state, and county refer to these parameters of the collection site. At USCH, we add names as they appear in Getty Thesaurus as per Symbiota. Non-matching names are added to the location remarks field while the Getty Thesaurus names go into the appropriate fields. If a collection location corresponds to multiple countries, states, or counties, then both are added but separated by semicolons.
SCDNR follows the same standards as USCH for country, state, and county. However, we only pull data from South Carolina, so it really becomes important for county.
The fields included on this slide are ones that we have also created or supplemented standards for. These standards are available to the public for use.
To make these standards accessible to everyone, we made an audio-visual presentation, an index PDF of PowerPoint slides, and a printer-friendly PDF. All three versions are linked to the USCH's GitHub website for ease of access. Because they are posted online, we can easily release updated versions. Standards are considered in effect the day they are published online. If there are any major changes to standards, this will allow us to batch edit based on date edited if need be.
Our future work involves workshops for data entry and data cleaning that are held at the beginning of semesters, while georeferencing workshops are scheduled. We also plan on addressing the data standards for additional fields in the future.